Good morning, everyone. Dr. Elsie Coe here from Lead Physician. I'm so happy and grateful to have a new person here today, Boykin Robinson. Hi, Boykin.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
He's the CEO of Core Clinical Partners. He's an ER physician by training. I would love to share your story, Boykin. What you told me was remarkable. He started off as ER physician, moved up the ranks in leadership, and jumped ship to start his own. How did that happen, and what did you do?
Sure. So yeah, that's right. I'm an emergency physician. I spent 5 or 6 years practicing clinically only, and then, like as you said, moved kind of through the ranks from director to system director, and was running a decent sized division for a great company. But had the opportunity to jump out and start my own company. I went from managing 50 contracts across the country to managing one in Georgia. So it was a terrifying leap. But decided that I wanted to do my own thing and had some ideas about how we could advance the industry and things we could do better. And so about 3 years ago, made the jump and started Core.
Wow. So, was that company you were with physician run, or it was the leadership more administrative business run?
Well, I think that this is part of the crux of the issue in our space. So our space is emergency medicine, hospital medicine, physician services. And so we manage outsourced ER docs and hospitalists across the country. And many of the groups in the country have started small, gotten larger, and at some point lost the physician leadership. And so there are many groups in our space where there are physicians running the clinical side, but not physicians running the business side. And so my hope was to be able to combine the two. I went and got my MBA and had learned a lot about running the administrative corporate side with my former company, and would really like to grow Core partly as an example to show that physicians can not only run the clinical side and be chief medical officers, but be chief executive officers of larger companies. And so that's part of what I wanted to do with Core.
You said that it was a terrifying experience. I can't even imagine. I mean, you're already up there, you're already doing well, you're already providing for your family, and then suddenly you had this dream. What was the impetus for that? And then how did you transform your company? I know it's thriving really well and it's growing rapidly. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it was terrifying. When you read books about entrepreneurs, they're usually 26 and single, right? And so then they can eat they can eat ramen and sleep on a friend's couch while they build their great company. It's a little different when you've got family that you're providing for and a lifestyle you're leading. And so yes, there was a little bit of terror in that. But the opportunity was there. We had one contract. I felt like with the connections I had in the industry that we could grow. I will say this first couple of years, there were a lot of ups and downs. We didn't grow like we wanted to in the first year. We went from one contract to three by the end of the year. So that was positive, but the contracts weren't performing as I thought they might. And then we had really very little growth in 2019. 2020, although it was a historically catastrophic year for the world, we actually ended up with some growth that happened early in 2020 that we were able to start new contracts throughout the year, and now up to 13 contracts and potentially with a merger later this year of over 30 in 12 states. So very excited about the growth. It creates a whole nother basket of things to be terrified about. But at least now there's revenue coming in and some stability that we didn't have, obviously, in early 2018.
So what is your big vision in your company, and that's keeping you going? Obviously, something is driving you forward no matter what happens. And how do you set yourself apart from the competition?
Yeah, great question. So as I mentioned, we do emergency medicine and hospital medicine right now. We may extend that into other outsourced physician services, but I really think about unscheduled care as sort of the big tent of what we're providing. And so we do a little bit of telemedicine now, but what I see going forward is the ability to provide telemedicine, medicine in retail spots, in urgent care, in emergency hospital medicine. So really from the beginning of a patient feeling sick till the time the patient gets back home is I think something that we can help to provide. What we're doing differently, and what I see as my kind of vision for the company, is that we are very nimble in how we create relationships with our hospitals and with our physicians. We try to be very transparent on both sides of that. Our hospital contracts, they know exactly where the money is, where it comes from. It's transparent financials. And then on the other side, with our physicians, also a similar level of transparency. And we try to create some sort of a partnership for our physicians. I feel like too often in this space, especially emergency physicians and hospitalists have become just employees who go to work and punch a clock, and to be honest, don't really maybe even care who they work for. And so we want to create a company that they want to work for, that they care about, that they feel part of, and creating some sort of a partnership in that. Sometimes true financial ownership in the contract, sometimes a partnership around some of the goals and incentives we have with the hospital, but in all cases, something different than just punching a clock.
It's awesome. And with your persona and your vision, I'm sure it even goes beyond the financial of making people, your communication style, transparency, allows people to want to stay within your company. So that's why where are you now at, and how many contracts did you say?
So right now, 13 contracts across 5 states.
Wow.
With a
Okay.
pretty good growth pipeline for this year.
And what's your big goal, your dream goal for this company?
Well, I want to grow. We have grown carefully. We have turned down business that we didn't think made sense in our growth plan.
Mm,
What we really want to do is we go into an area, start a new contract, say in a new state, and we want to grow 3 or 4 contracts around that, create a regional hub, create some economies of scale with operators in the area, physicians who can help if needed across the contracts, but not have 10 or 20 contracts in an area, because then it's harder to provide the best services, because you have to kind of, when you have to pull in every clinician from the area because you have all of the contracts, it's harder to say we provide a better service.
right. I love that. I love that. Okay. So this is a leadership platform, physician to physician, and I wanted to ask if you can give some word of advice for physicians out there, people who are looking at you like, I always had this idea, but I didn't do anything about it. What advice would you have for physicians who want to step up and lead and help healthcare be better?
I think we need more of it, right? We need
Yeah.
physicians in leadership roles. I'm happy to see how many physicians are now in hospital executive roles, not just CMO, but CEO roles of hospitals and healthcare systems. And so I think we're seeing more of it. We're, I hope, getting away from this idea that physicians are bad business people and can't
Yeah.
do it. That unfortunately, that really is out there when you talk to people in private equity or in banking. They really do think that, physicians, they're good at what they do, but they don't understand business. And I think there are now more and more and more physicians who truly have a deep understanding of business, proving that wrong. And so my advice would be, find something that you're passionate about, first of all, and then make sure you have solid backup plans. Don't quit the clinical practice and let your license lapse because your new device is going to take off. You want to make sure that, I think continuing to practice at least in the early stages of a new company makes sense for the physician, for credibility. But also, through those first couple of years, I was very happy to have a backup plan that I could go back and work shifts if I needed to, because small business is tough. COVID obviously proved that. COVID was tough for us. Our revenues dropped 50% in March and April, and the ER has to stay open. The lights have to stay on. We still have to pay our physicians, and so those were some tough times as well. And so I think being prepared, putting together pro formas, saying, hey, we're going to do this, that, and the other, but being prepared for the worst, is a piece of advice I would certainly give anyone starting a business.
Thank you so much. That's great advice. And what would you say on the flip side for organizations who want to improve their, everything's getting so much more complex. The reimbursements are constantly changing, and there's less money to give out. What would you say to healthcare organizations in terms of including physician and leadership?
Absolutely. I think it's all about efficiency. Healthcare, the costs in healthcare obviously have skyrocketed over the last 10 to 20 years. But those of us inside know that there are tremendous inefficiencies in the system. And so being able to look at those, to take a full look across the healthcare system at the potential inefficiencies, and not just assume that, well, we need fewer doctors, for instance, or less care. There are a lot of other places that we could do a better job of decreasing inefficiency, using lean properly. The word is thrown around in healthcare a lot, but it's not often used properly. People don't actually lean out processes, and getting the physicians involved, having physicians in leadership to help the hospital administrators understand, here's what we need to do. Now, my advice to the physicians is to understand healthcare really is a business. You can't ignore that fact. You can't, I've talked to too many physicians who say, money shouldn't come into this. Well, it does. Every hospital is for profit. It's just whether that profit is being plowed back into the organization like a not-for-profit, or going to shareholders like a for-profit. But everyone in 2021, every hospital, every healthcare organization has to think about finances and how they can become more efficient. And as physicians, we need to be a part of that, not be resisting that, because it is reality.
Mm-hmm. And do you need an MBA to be where you are, Boykin?
No, to be honest, I was running a big division of a company before I got my MBA, and there I had people who told me, "What, you don't need that. You have an experiential MBA." But I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed the classes. I enjoyed getting to know. I did the physician executive MBA at the University of Tennessee, so my cohort was all physicians. So I made great connections, friends for life. And really learned. I think what it did most for me is allow me to speak the language more fluently. Now, if I'm talking to a banker, for instance, I understand, maybe I always understood the concepts, but now I'm more fluent in the language.
That's great. And I saw that you're also a fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives. How has that made you a better leader?
They do a nice job, and that's where, for the physicians who don't know, ACHE is where all of the hospital administrators are. So we all have our specialty societies. I'm also a fellow of the American Academy of Emergency Physicians. But ACHE is where all of the hospital administrators sit and learn and go to conferences. And so a great place to learn how they're thinking about the future. Obviously a great place to network. And I've gotten very involved in the Georgia chapter. I lead the physician executive group here at Georgia ACHE. And so I think that has been a great organization for me to learn more about healthcare from the other side. And we learn a lot about it from the physician side, but to learn more about it through the eyes of an administrator.
Right. And what you kind of been alluding to in this conversation is you're really building relationships, and that's how you've been able to grow. And putting yourself out there, maybe even if you were not that type of physician who goes out and is an extrovert, but learning how to be and learning how to make connections can make all the difference in your business. And it is a business.
It is, and it's absolutely about connections. It's about, and I think this is obvious advice for everyone, but don't ever burn bridges when you leave. So healthcare is a really small world, and it's amazing how much of our growth, or even our potential growth, is connections that myself or someone on my team has from other places they've been in healthcare. Hospital administrators move around a fair bit, and so understanding, having great relationships with people who then maybe move to a different part of the country opens up a whole other set of relationships in areas you didn't know it would.
Well, thank you so much for this interview. I just want to conclude by asking if you can share some of your contact information. And I saw that you were advertising on LinkedIn for a partner in Oklahoma. What can you share with us today for people to see?
As far as contact information,
Yes.
well, yeah, I mean, feel free, visit us at coreclinicalpartners.com to learn more about our organization. And certainly feel free to reach out if you're thinking about becoming a physician entrepreneur. I've got lots of thoughts and experiences, good and bad. Feel free to email me at brobinson@coreclinicalpartners.com. Happy to have a conversation.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a nice Sunday. And if you want to also check out Lead Physician, we are going to re-enroll another set of people who are interested in learning leadership, physician to physician. Check out our website at leadphysician.org. And we also have a Facebook group. You can go check out healthcare. Healthcare leadership is our page, and Lead Physician is the group that you can learn some tips, daily tips on communication skills and how to negotiate, how to build relationships. Thank you so much, Boykin. Everyone have a great day. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Elsie. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.